Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hello. This is Matt Truman. Thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you, not you, but you, for sharing this episode. Thank you for sharing with a friend. Thank you for sharing with a neighbor. Thank you for sharing with a loved one. Thank you for sharing this podcast. It's going out worldwide. Welcome, world, to Truman's Town Hall. Today is March 25th, 2022. I'm going to play the first clip. It was a gentleman who gave remarks at a local city council meeting. This is a very important clip. You have to listen to it. You have to listen to it very carefully. It's probably one of the most important clips I've played on this podcast. He says a lot and he means a lot. Without further ado, here it is. This is the clip that you guys, you ladies, you non-binary folks need to listen to right now.
Ukraine and Russia. If we had a nuclear war, it would be worth it if it could just save one life. What? Imagine living in a world where people with selfish sides denying racist, transphobic, xenophobic, misogynistic bigots, where people actually supported democracy and took on their social responsibility. The only way to fight for our democracy is to get vaccinated while supporting Ukraine in the fight. And that is your social responsibility. Everybody. One of the people I look up to, who I've begun to love, is Klaus Schwab. And he said by 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. And I stand with him because I am not selfish. And those who stand against it are selfish. My closing statement, my only regret is that I didn't stop Breonna Taylor's killers. I still remember like it was yesterday. I was shopping at Target in the Pride section looking for a shirt for my 6-year-old openly gay transgender nephew after I got off work at Starbucks where I'm a barista. But at least I know that I was helping the LGBTQ community while Breonna Taylor was killed. Every night I lay on my pillow and I pray that Dr. Fauci will make a vaccine for white supremacy. I hate myself!
Thank you. That's your time. Appreciate it. Well,
I'm going to take a knee for George Floyd.
yeah, could you do that over there so we can get the next person? Thank you. Okay. If we could, so we'll take like a 5-minute break and wipe all that down.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was probably the most important clip. We've hold on, I gotta be serious. We've played on Truman's Town Hall. Wow. That video is posted on Truman's Town Hall podcast page on Facebook. But we are shadow banned, and I'm kind of still in jail. I can't post live videos. I can't do a lot of things because I posted a picture of two folks from the Azov Brigade from Ukraine. They happen to identify as Nazi, maybe, allegedly. I don't know. But they were holding a flag. It was a Ukrainian flag with the cross and swastika. And I posted that on Facebook, and that was not allowed. You can't do that on Facebook. And I just wanted to point out, not because I can't stand Nazis. My grandfather, I say great, no. It was my grandfather who fought the Nazis. Yeah, Sergeant Truman. Not me, but another Sergeant Truman fought the Nazis. That, and it's possible that I might have Jewish heritage. Anyway. Oh, Lord, folks, we are living in strange times. Strange times. But I'm going to have fun with this podcast, and I want you to share it worldwide. Worldwide. If you're in Peru, share it with your friend in Peru. We have Peru listeners. If you are in Slovenia, share it with your friends in Slovenia. In Estonia, we got Estonian listeners. We have listeners in Poland. We have listeners in the United States. Yay! We used to have Russian listeners, but we don't have Russian listeners anymore. I don't know why that is. I'm still baffled by where all the Russian listeners went. India. My Indian listeners, you guys are faithful. I love you. We have listeners just all around the world. It's crazy to understand that there are folks from around the world listening to my voice and me bloviate about topics. Listen, folks, I've lived a life, okay? I've been to war. I know what it's like to live through a war, so I can understand what these folks are going through a little bit, right? I've seen combat, so I understand what that's all about. And it's nuts. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll play clips like this from John Bound.
The elite's minions within the inept court system are bungling the best-laid plans of the perverse and crooked establishment. And so it goes amongst the New York elite, who are now in yet another panic after a list of alleged clients of the student prostitute in the Sarah Lawrence sex cult case was inadvertently published online.
We're back covering the shocking allegations against Lawrence Ray, a 60-year-old dad accused of starting a sex cult with his daughter's college classmates after getting out of prison. He's now facing claims that he subjected his alleged victims to sexual and psychological manipulation and physical abuse. But long before these sex cult accusations came to light, Lawrence was a well-connected world traveler whose friends included former New York City Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik, who joins us now.
And to give you an idea, Doc, of the spectrum of people that he was around, he called me up from an airplane one time, and he said, pick me up at JFK. I'm coming into JFK. I've got some friends. And as he got off the plane and he was walking toward my car, I'm looking out the window, and I said, wow, this guy that he's walking with, he really looks like President Mikhail Gorbachev of the Soviet Union.
Gosh.
And he puts Mikhail Gorbachev in the backseat of my car. Another time, he picks up the phone in my car. He calls the Commandant of the United States Marine Corps, General James Jones. Another time, he invites me to a private dinner, and I walk in, and it's him, Governor Mario Cuomo, and Senator Robert Torselli of New Jersey.
Just as quickly as the list was under seal, it was released. A mad attempt to undo the damage was ongoing, but unfortunately for them, the Daily Mail acquired a copy of the 121 names that only scraped the surface. According to the Daily Mail, the now released document is an exhibit admitted in the federal case against 62-year-old Larry Ray, who is charged with operating a sex cult out of his daughter's dorm room at Sarah Lawrence College.
After years of allegations about unspeakable abuse against young people he met as college students, 60-year-old Lawrence Ray was arrested at this New Jersey home on Tuesday.
One of his daughter's roommates and one of the female victims in the indictment were in the residence at the time.
According to the indictment, Ray held so-called therapy sessions in his daughter's dorm, alienating several of the victims from their parents after earning their trust. The document says he controlled them by using verbal and physical abuse, which escalated after he and some of the victims later moved to New York City. The indictment also charges Ray with depriving his victims of food and sleep and taking explicit pictures of some of them. Prosecutors say he accused them of lying and stealing, and in response, they say he asked for money, eventually extorting nearly $1 million.
Ray directed his victims to obtain money for him by other means, by draining their parents' savings, and worse, forced labor and prostitution.
Ray is also accused of demanding taped confessions from his victims for supposed crimes they committed.
Are you making this by your own free will?
Yes.
In this video uploaded in 2017, an apparently disoriented young woman says she tried to poison Ray, an unsubstantiated allegation.
Did you in fact poison me?
Yes.
Among the Johns on the list are a top executive at the Gap clothing firm and her husband. They were one of two married couples that were included. A former New York State Supreme Court judge is also named. Another alleged client is a painter who has studios in Manhattan's East Village and in Italy. A third, an architect famous for designing colleges and university buildings. An investment executive who was also a pedophile in Jeffrey Epstein's infamous Little Black Book of Contacts. Other names include a hedge fund manager who has his name on a museum on a building in New York, a Washington, D.C. lobbyist, and an international diamond dealer. Also included is an executive at the Metropolitan Transit Authority, an account executive at Amazon, and a veteran travel writer. Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Keith Raniere, Allison Mack, Peter Nygaard, and now Larry Ray. They will all merely be replaced to supply the debauched elite with the flesh for their fantasy lifestyle. Meanwhile, they continue to pervert our own children with their demonic policies. John Bound reporting.
Well, there's that. Wow, that was a left turn, wasn't it? You guys thought I was going to talk about Ukraine or Russia and all this stuff. No, folks, that video by John Bound is titled, "We Are Ruled Over by Demons." It's over on banned, BANNED.video. You can watch it there if you want. There's a lot of creepy people out in the world. Lots of creepy people. And they're running. I was watching this video and I saw, Commissioner Carrick from 9/11. We all saw him on the TV from 9/11. He was the commissioner in New York at the time, the police commissioner, right? He's like, well, I picked my friend said, he called me up and said, pick me up at the airport. And I picked him up with Gorbachev from the president of the Soviet Union. What? What in the great wide world of sports? I called the Marine Commandant. Who else? It's insane, folks. There's a lot of creepy people and a lot of creepy people in power who want to take you to war. Why? Because they make money off of war. You don't make money off of war. I don't make money off of war. Okay. Full disclosure. I own one share of Raytheon because I know how America is. It's only one share. It's worth like $100, but I'm not millions of dollars invested in Raytheon. I'm not like these folks. If I had millions of dollars, I'd probably be invested in Raytheon more than what I am now. But folks, let's be honest. It's only because I know who the Secretary of Defense is. He's the former CEO of Raytheon. Yeah. Lloyd Austin, the current Secretary of Defense, is the former CEO of Raytheon Technologies, which is a manufacturer of weapons and armaments. A lot of crazy stuff, folks. A lot of crazy stuff happening. I didn't know about this sex cult. I didn't know about it until you've got to get outside of what the regular, and I say regular because there's a lot of different folks listening from around the world, but you got to get outside the regular news and understand that there's more to all of this than what meets the eye, folks. You've got to understand that. We're just regular folks. You're listening to this. I'm talking about this. We're just regular folks. This is a tiny little audio podcast. We don't even do videos. We should, and we need to. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, years. Matt, we need to do videos. But I kind of don't want to put my face out there because I don't know what would happen. You know what I mean? Is that paranoid? you can email me at truepodcast@gmail.com. And we have some emails to read. Let's read those real quick, and then we'll go on to the next clip. Dear Truman's Town Hall, this is the greatest podcast I've listened to. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you. That was from Milos in Russia. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to give anybody's name out. That wouldn't be right. But that was funny, right? So, my brother and I, for years, he would call me and he would be like, hello, this is Ivan. And I would say, hello, this is Milos. How are you doing? And we would talk in horrible Russian accents. And now it's kind of legitimate now. We're 80s kids, man. All right. He was born in 1980. I was born in 77. So we grew up with all this Soviet America stuff. My dad, we're sitting in the living room one day, and my dad, I don't know what we were talking about, but I was a little kid. My dad's like, yeah, in Russia, they have like boxes. They can listen to you when you're talking. Have you opened a Facebook app recently? And you're talking to your wife about, oh, I don't know, I'm going to go over to Bed Bath & Beyond and buy this. And then Bed Bath & Beyond ad pops up on your Facebook. Guess what, Dad? America is Soviet Union now, man. It's crazy. Anyway, all right, let's read the next email. The first one was a real email, but it wasn't by Milos. Anyway, here we go. No names. Matt, you should really put out better podcasts. This podcast is horrible. We wish you would put out better content. Signed, whoever. It went on and on and on, but I just read you like the first part of it. Anyway, that was email number 2. Email number 3. Truman's Town Hall. Thank you for updating us on the war between Ukraine and Russia. We appreciate all that you do. Thank you for your continued coverage and diverse information. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm here to serve. I enjoy doing these podcasts, and I enjoy you listening to them and responding. truepodcast@gmail.com. All right, next clip.
Zelensky recently described Putin's denazification of Ukraine as laughable, and the brainwashed flock of the mainstream media certainly must agree. They have been told that Nazis wave the American flag and vote Republican, and the brainwashed flock always believe what they are told. But those of us still cleaving to our sanity remember that Nazis were members of Hitler's National Socialist Party from the 1930s and 40s. And not only were there thousands of Nazis in Western Ukraine back then, it is still a big part of their national pride. Nazi war criminal Stepan Bandera is a national hero, and there are actual Nazi organizations still thriving in Ukraine, including the Azov Regiment, which is now a part of Ukraine's armed forces. The Nazification of Ukraine is well documented and easily verified, as is the Nazification of America. During the 1930s, there were many notable Americans who supported the Nazis, such as Prescott Bush, Henry Ford, and Fred Koch. Banks such as J.P. Morgan and Chase Manhattan. Companies such as General Motors, Standard Oil, Shell, and IBM. Major General Smedley Butler of the U.S. Marines was asked by these powerful entities to help them install National Socialism in the United States.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, under subpoena to tell what I knew of activities which I believe might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship. I was supposed to lead an organization of 500,000 men, which would be able to take over the functions of government.
And when that plan failed, war broke out in Europe with the support of the banks and these American corporate entities. After World War II, only about a dozen were brought to justice at the Nuremberg trials. The Catholic Church and the Vatican helped thousands of Nazis evade capture via the rat lines, which brought them mostly to South America, where they built an entire town in Argentina. In Operation Paperclip, the United States secretly absorbed thousands of Nazis into the U.S. government, where they led the NASA space program and helped pioneer the military-industrial complex as well as Big Pharma. Many believe that being a Nazi is synonymous with being anti-Jewish, which may have been true in 1930s Germany, but it's complicated. Many high-ranking Nazis themselves, including Adolf Hitler, were Ashkenazi Jews, who can be traced back to the notorious Khazars, who mysteriously mass-converted to Judaism about 1,300 years ago in the region now known as Ukraine. Ashkenazi Jews ran the political Zionist movement in Germany, and for several years, the Zionists were the only political party allowed to operate inside Germany by the Nazis. Both the Zionists and the Nazis wanted their own ethnically pure state, and for years before their final solution, the Nazis helped the Zionists in their efforts to establish the State of Israel within Palestine. It was far more complicated than mere racial hatred. Nazism can best be described as fascism, and fascism is godlessness. The word Nazi is a made-up slur, but the word fascist can be clearly defined. It stems from the Latin word fasces, which is a bundle of sticks banded together to form a deadly weapon. An old-school meme that represents the deadly power of an organized mob, a gang. When men lack a personal relationship with God, they inevitably band together out of fear. Submitting to the strong man for a small taste of dominance, they become just another beast in the jungle. And today, we can clearly see this fascist mentality in all of these godless groups. The woke, the Satanists, the transhumanists, and the genocidal mass murderers of the Great Reset are all merging together into one giant fasces. Godless men and women banded together out of fear. Fascists serving the strong man. Spiritually speaking, these are the weakest among us. And so far, we are allowing them to destroy everything. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said earlier, I was a member of the United States military. And while I was in Afghanistan, we worked with a lot of NATO folks, Germans, the British. So there is only one foreign medal or award, let's just say, that you can earn as an American soldier. And that is a Marksmanship Badge from Germany called the Schützensnare. I hope I said that right. It's a Marksmanship Badge. I earned one while in Afghanistan. We were lucky enough to train with German soldiers. We brought them to our range, right? We opened up our range. They brought their weapons. They allowed us to shoot their weapons and earn their badge. If you get a good score, you know, as an expert marksman, as I was in the military, you would get the gold Schützensnare. As a mediocre or intermediate, you would get the silver, or silber, as they wrote. And then as one who was just proficient, you would get the bronze. Those were the badges. I earned a silver. And why did I earn a silver? Because I just shot their weapons. I never practiced with their weapons. There were 3 different weapons that we shot. Ironically enough, one was the MG-42. Yeah, the same weapon they used back in World War II. The Nazis were the German army still shoot them today. I got to shoot one of those. I have a picture of me shooting an MG-42. And I looked up at one of my buddies. I'm like, no. Here's what happened. The German guy was like, when I was shooting it, he was like, that is one of that weapon, it probably shot at your grandpa or something like that. I don't know. We were all joking around. But he was like, that weapon probably shot at your grandpa. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, probably did. I don't know. I can't remember the exact words, so don't quote me verbatim, but it was something like along those lines as a joke. Anyway, these are good German dudes, right? I'm not saying anything negative, but I do want to say this. A lot of Americans will remember the tiki torches from Charlottesville. There was a protest and a bunch of so-called white supremacists or neo-Nazis or whatever were walking around this place before Charlottesville with tiki torches. The creepiest medal award or badge award or whatever you want to call it that I ever received in the military was from the Germans. It was at dusk. We gathered at dusk. And then the sun set, and there were tiki torches lit around. And the German general, I believe it, or maybe it was a colonel. I can't remember. I don't know. Maybe some of my old buddies would remember. But anyway, the general gave this long speech, and it felt very German-esque, as as I can say now. But the tiki torch, I remember standing there thinking, wow, this is weird. I don't know if I want to accept this award or not, being a white American who loves all people. Anyway, it was strange. I had a lot of strange racial interactions being a white dude in Afghanistan, more so in Afghanistan than I think I have had in America. And I don't know if maybe I grew up in a town that was very diverse and, black mixed with white. And, I had buddies who were Mexican. It just didn't matter. But in Afghanistan, it was just weird, man. Weird. Oh, well. I go down memory lane with you folks. That probably didn't make sense. But anyway, hit me up and we'll talk about it someday. truepodcast@gmail.com. Let's play another clip. I don't know. Let's talk about the war, right, folks? Ukraine and Russia still battling it out. I saw a video today. I'm just going to have fun with this podcast, but this is totally American right here. Americans love war. We love to fight. We created we love to fight. We're built on revolution, this country of the United States. And I saw a video today, and I posted it over on Truman's Town Hall Facebook page. You can see it there if you want. There's an American dude. He's in the middle of Ukraine. Things are blowing up around him. He's just explaining. He's like, we got this. There's my commander over there. But he doesn't say it like a hillbilly like me. He's more like, yo, this is my commander over there. Forget about it. All right, here it is.
Another day in paradise. Got a couple guys that got shot just a little while ago. Put him to the rear with a tank. Got my man right there, my commander. He's got the USA patch on the shoulder. Got burning buildings. We got mortars. We got rockets. We got all the fun stuff to make it a beautiful day.
Wow. Anyway, I never found mortars to be that exciting or fun. I've had mortars shot at me, and they're not fun, folks. Those things blow up and they throw stuff out everywhere, and it's just not fun. It's not a fun, exciting event. He was like, we got mortars, we got burning buildings, we got it all over here. Forget about it, oh. Hey, how about some meatballs, eh? All right. Sorry. Whew. The war is happening, folks, in Ukraine, and I'm a million miles away. So until it hits my doorstep, I'm going to talk about it like this. And trust me, and every time I make something light, I always think about the poor folks dealing with this stuff, and I want to pray for them. So I encourage everyone, if you believe, and I hope you do, pray for all these folks that are suffering throughout all this stuff. In a serious note, this podcast is kind of fun tonight. But at a serious note, keep these folks in your prayers. Pray for all the kids, especially, man, and the ladies who are having to deal with all this stuff. And what do they tell their kids? Can you imagine? Let's think about that for a minute. All right? Say it hits to where you're at today. What do you tell your kids? We got to leave. We got to get out of here because bombs are blowing up. There's going to be people trying to kill us. Folks, I get all that. I understand that. But when you're able to step back from that, you know, I have kids, and I understand, you know, you try to shelter them as much as possible and try not to let the real world, and we know what the real world is. I just played a video talking about a sex cult, right? We know what the real world is. We know the evil that persists and that is after our children. And when it finally comes after our children, what do you tell them? You know, these are all heartbreaking scenarios that I never want to have to deal with my kids, but I don't know. It may come to that. So the best thing you can do is prepare them for that. Teach them skills that they can learn. Teach them things, you know, read to them every night. Do a lot of good things. You're never going to be perfect as a parent, but teach them right. As a person who's not involved, who's not a leader, you know, the great leaders, you're not going to be able to stop things like that. You're not going to be able to stop war as one. So you have to explain it to them, but you have to be prepared, right? I don't know. It'd be a long discussion. So let's just play another clip.
So I believe I see how they are going to package this New World Order. Joe Biden came out, and he knows using the terms New World Order is not a good thing to half of the country. But he's talking about a New World Order, and they're going to start packaging this New World Order as a way to get away from globalization. Now, that's not really what it is. It is a bipolar world again. There will be an axis. We're going back to the Cold War. There'll be an axis and allied power, okay? And the West will work together and the East will work together. And they're starting to package this because this is the second time I've seen this in the New York Times. Look at this. A Ukrainian war and pandemic forced nations to retreat from globalization. How many times have we asked on this program, are we making our own medicine? How about, our own oil, gas? Can we get independent on a few things because we're way too dependent on China? Nobody's actually ever done anything about that. But this is the way this is being spun. Mr. Biden, according to the New York Times, already frames his foreign policy in ideological terms as a mission of unifying democracies against autocracies. Mr. Biden also says he's enacting a foreign policy for middle-class Americans. Wow, it's working out. And central to getting companies to move critical supply chains and manufacturing out of China. The goal is given urgency by the hobbling of these global links over the last 2 years of the pandemic. Now, have you heard anyone make this case to the American people? That's a pretty good campaign thing to run on, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Didn't run on that. I think they are working in reverse here. They're looking for a narrative to sell all of this stuff. So the narrative is going to be, we're getting away from China. Warning. Okay, so yesterday there was another step taken for the delisting of Chinese stocks. And they say that is going to happen in the next couple of years. Now, let's look at, by the way, we also announced yesterday more sanctions are coming on Russia, and we threatened China. If you help them at all, we're coming after you too. Oh, are we? Are we really? Okay. I told you years ago that war is the way you change maps and currencies and everything else, because at the end of a global war, it's been so horrible that it doesn't matter that you don't go back to the way things were. You just want the war to end, okay? So if you were really interested in peace, would you not, if you were an honest person, would you not just continue the Abrahamic Accords? Continue in the direction, because we saw more movement in the Middle East towards peace and unity than we've ever seen in my lifetime under Donald Trump. You may not like him, you may not like his tweets, whatever, but if you were actually interested in the Middle East not being chaotic, you would continue down that road. Even if you thought it was wrong, you might just continue it until it starts to fall apart.
Right, like if you, at the beginning, thought that these changes would create a new conflict in the region, which wasn't a completely unreasonable thought. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I can understand why people thought it might. But since those haven't materialized, and we have seen peace in the region since they occurred, wouldn't you continue to go down that road, at least until something changed?
I would think so. Now, let me show you what's happening in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia won't take our phone call. So they're now selling their oil to China. They got a bigger, they've said enough of the old, in with the new. So they're not even taking Joe Biden's phone call. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Joe Biden has said, we don't like Saudi Arabia and blah, 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 blah. Well, who does? Except for the king of Saudi Arabia. But that's always been the deal, and we've always been there to back them. So now we've taken Russia, a huge oil field, Saudi Arabia, huge oil field, and Iran, huge oil field, allowed them to open it up for the rest of the world, just not the West. We've forced them together, and they've taken all of that oil, and they're pumping it east instead of west. That's destabilizing for the West. But one of the reasons why Saudi Arabia is so mad at us is because Joe Biden went in and reopened the Iran deal and tried to bring all of these blessings of all of the things that Joe Biden did under Barack Obama and bring that back to life. Okay, this is a really, really bad deal. First of all, Tehran attacked Iraq with ballistic missiles last month, and through its Houthi proxies in Yemen, they launched a missile and drone strike on Abu Dhabi in January, and I believe they just launched another strike over the weekend in Saudi Arabia. So how is this happening? Well, Iran is getting stronger, and they're also going to have a whole bunch of extra money because now they can sell their oil, and it's not slowing them down on a nuke. So we're not only looking at instability, we're looking at a possibly nuclear-armed Iran with a lot of money. This is why, and you're not going to read this very often anywhere, but check the Israeli papers. This is why Israel is practicing bombing runs on Iran, because they know that they're going to have a nuke and they have to take it out. So now you have Iran and Russia and China partnered, and you have Israel going and attacking with what is said to be a massive attack that is coming, and they're not hiding it. They're telling, if this deal goes through and we are left alone, we are going in. So now you have a major attack on Iran. Do you think that might cause a war in the Middle East? Which side are we on? For the first time in my life, I don't know. But that would make it a two-front war. And quite honestly, if that's happening with Israel, and there's a real war going on with Israel and a real war going on with the Ukraine, if I'm President Xi, I just go into Taiwan. I just go in Because what is the world going to do? You're going to fight that war too? Nope.
Without those wars, he basically went into Hong Kong and nobody said anything.
Exactly right.
So, I don't see why Taiwan would be any different. And we wouldn't even be able to do the things that we were doing in Ukraine as far as supplying them. I mean, just the geography of that situation doesn't allow for it in an ongoing conflict. So what do you do? What is Iran hoping for here?
Iran wants to annihilate Israel.
Yeah, well, that's always their long-term hope. But are they seeing a path out of their sort of isolation here? Because I mean, if they ally with China and Russia, you'd think they would be less likely to get the benefits of a nuclear deal. That obviously benefits them. Why would they be signing it?
So let's just remember where Iran came from. Remember, that was the land of Persia. What happened to Persia? When did Persia become Iran? Persia became Iran during World War II, when the head of Persia and the the Grand Imam in Jerusalem, at the mosque in Jerusalem, became very big Hitler fans. They loved Hitler. We have several pictures in our museum of all of these guys meeting with Hitler. They had their own SS guard to round up Jews. I mean, most people don't know that. We have the uniforms here in our museum. It's a really bad thing. The word Persia went away. The name Persia went away. It was a gift to Hitler. They changed Persia to Iran. Translation, Aryan. They said to Hitler, "We are your Aryan nation." Okay? So that kind of craziness is baked into the religious zealots. For generations, it's baked in. Hitler was right. So I don't know if you can say any more than it's an Axis ally that doesn't mind slaughtering people, just like Russia, just like China. They have their own design, but now this is Gog and Magog. I don't remember which one is which, but one of them is Russia and the other one is Iran. Those are the modern day names for those. Those two are the ones that come against Israel. I could see that easily happening. Easily.
So these three countries that we're talking about is Iran, Russia, China.
Mm-hmm.
There are different motivations for all of them.
Correct.
Here. When you look at the motivations, Iran, you're saying, is more of a theocratic,
yes,
ideological bent. How would you describe Russia and China's motivation here?
China just wants to gobble up as much as possible.
Empire building pragmatism.
Russia wants Europe. So I think what they're all thinking to themselves, because you have to include on that new axis, India.
That's terrifying.
India
was our one.
Yes.
The one thing we could look to for hope in a large country, heavily populated, that was a big fan of the United States the largest capitalist, in theory, country on earth.
They have just thrown their weight with Russia and with China.
And that's Biden.
Yes, it is.
You can't. They love Donald Trump.
Right.
Do you remember the rallies they had in India for Donald Trump? The president loved Donald Trump. We had a really good relationship with India when he was president.
Yeah, they loved him. One more thing. If you're Iran and the United States just gave you permission to have Russia come in and build more nuclear facilities, are you celebrating if you're Iran? I would be if I'm them. And by the way, are you happy if you're Russia? Yeah, because they don't think that they would use the nukes on them. They'll use the nukes on Israel and some of their enemies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. And if Saudi Arabia gets nuked, who cares? We have oil, then they don't. This is a really touchy situation, and if you're not down on your knees every day praying to God for our country, asking for forgiveness on the things that we have done and continue to do, please start.
So for my Christian brothers and sisters, listen up. If you're not Christian, listen up anyway. This is from the Bible, the English Standard Version I have. I could read the New King James or the King James. I have those as well, but I'm going to read it out of the English Standard Version. Matthew 24:6. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will rise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. So that was Matthew, if you're following along in your Bible, Matthew 24:6 through 13 in the English Standard Version. Ladies and gentlemen, we have seen wars and rumors of wars. We are heading toward tribulation if you are not already involved in great tribulation. Ukrainians in particular, right? Folks in Africa, I always think about the Africans, man. They are suffering, right? We do all the war in Europe, the United States, and Asia, and Africa is just like, yeah, there's war in Africa, Somalia, Egypt, Libya, and things like that. There's war all over the world. What am I thinking, right? Folks, we need, whether you believe in Jesus Christ like I do, or you believe in whoever you believe in, I would love to get you to believe in Jesus Christ. But here's the deal. Whatever you believe in, say a prayer for the world. If you don't believe in anything, hope for the best. I don't know. Kiss your butt goodbye. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, I laugh because I know where I'm going in the end. And hopefully my kids and wife. But we're going into scary times. I think I've never lived through times like these, right? Even through 9/11, that was scary for us here in America. We were like, what are we doing? We've never had war. We've since 1812, right? Oh, but Matt, the Civil War, yeah, we were fighting each other. I'm not talking about that. Right? Anywho. Thanks for listening, folks. I know. Sloppy podcast, Matt. Share with a friend, though, because I'm going to do another sloppy podcast next week. And I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you sharing. And it doesn't cost you anything. I put this out for free, so enjoy it. But before we leave, I'm going to leave you with The Red Rooster. My old buddy, Waylon Fortner, a.k.a. The Red Rooster, who puts out a podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts. It's called The Gospel Message. He does this live on Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Gospel Message Facebook page. You can listen to the Red Rooster, and I'm going to give you a little taste of it before we leave tonight. My old buddy, Waylon Fortner, the Red Rooster.
So, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being with me. I didn't realize it. It's been, I think 2 years. Pretty close to 2 years we've been doing the broadcast of some sort. And I went back and looked at some of my old stuff, and wow, we've come a long way. And we're going to continue to grow, continue to change things, but we're going to stay. This is the focus right here. This is what it's all about. And I want to thank you for being a part. Don't forget to like it, to share it. Please share these, get them out there. The other day I did one. Facebook put a clamp on me. They wouldn't let it go out. They wanted to know more information about me because I mentioned something about politics. So, whatever. But now they let me. So we'll see if they cut me off after tonight or if they'll continue to let me go. But like it, follow it, join the page, and share it. I do want to say also, PM me, private message me on Messenger. If you would like to have me come and speak in the Dayton area, somewhere within 45 minutes, an hour of Dayton would be good if I can stay there. I'm trying to stay pretty busy church hopping. But anyway, get a hold of me, private message me for that. I do have something before I get into Scripture tonight. It's going to be Isaiah, the 5th chapter. We're going to get into, but there was a Supreme Court Justice nomination, Mrs. Jackson, and I believe it was Marsha Blackburn that asked her the question. And it blew my mind. I mean, I know that the country, the world, has gone so woke and so far left and liberal that the basic knowledge that we have is corrupted. It's diminishing, and it's to the point where you can't even answer a simple question anymore because of your agenda, because you don't want to offend certain people. And Marsha Blackburn, she just asked a simple question to the Supreme Court Justice nominee, Mrs. Jackson. She said, could you just give us the definition of a woman? And do you realize now this is our high court, okay? These are the ones that's supposed to make decisions and judgments against major cases in life. And she had trouble answering that question. And listen, her answer was, no, I can't. She stuttered around a little bit. You can go look it up for yourself. And she says, I'm not a biologist. And my mouth literally dropped open. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, what I was seeing. I watched it. And you say, well, how is this biblical? We're going to go to Isaiah, the 5th chapter, in a couple of places tonight, but the judgment and the morality and the common sense that's been lost is mind-blowing. And it's all because we've gotten away from the Word of God. I look back at myself and I go, man, what have I turned my head to? What have I allowed that I shouldn't have? What have I ignored that I should have took a stance against? Because now we're looking at all these things that we've ignored for so long. And they're all coming home to roost, and now we're going to have to face them. And one of it, she could not tell you what a woman was. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you know what a woman is? Because that's pretty important. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a little... I'm going to make this easy for you tonight. And I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I want to get into Isaiah, the 5th chapter. But I have a question, and that's the question, what is a woman? It's right there. Now, most people won't have trouble answering that question. Now, I did a multiple choice. So we have one answer could be a female person. B, you have a person born with a uterus and ovaries. Then you have C, which a woman is not Leah Thomas or Bruce Jenner. Okay? And then you've got D. The answer is I can't say. I'm not a biologist. Then we added E here. Or could it be A, B, and C? I want you to think about it just for a minute. Is that good? Okay. Now, if you are a far-left liberal, and your name is Mrs. Jackson, going for the Supreme Court Justice nominee, it would be the answer D. But we're not that far left. So we're going to answer that is false. It can't be D. We're going to go A, B, C. And the correct answer is E. It is A, B, and C. Thank you. Thank you. We've learned something tonight on the gospel message. Now, we could go into what a male is, what a man is, but we're not going to do that. It was pretty simple all the way back to Genesis, the first chapter. God said, let us make man in our image. He made man in his image, and then he made woman from Adam. And he distinctly put a difference between both of them. And now we're going to get in and say, how does this go with the Bible? Well, we're going to get into Isaiah, the 5th chapter. We'll let that go. We'll skip that one. Isaiah, the 5th chapter. And we're going to start out at the 18th verse. And remember earlier when I was saying, we've turned our head to things. We've ignored things. Thinking, oh, it's not going to bother me, my family. Well, now it is. Now even our high courts are going to be packed and infiltrated with far-left wokeism, and their judgment is supposed to be the guide of our country. Do you see the state that our country's getting in? Our officials, the people in power. Everything is so corrupt and greedy dogs out there that'll do and say anything to keep their place of power and their money. Here at the Gospel Message, it ain't about the money. We don't even do offerings here at the Gospel Message. Matter of fact, from time to time, we actually give money away. But Isaiah 5 and 18, woe unto them that draw iniquity. They keep drawing it. They keep bringing it to them with cords of vanity, and sin as it were with a cart rope. What are they saying? They say, let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see it. Let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw nigh and come, that we may know it. They were busy in their iniquity, in their sin. They were going the broad way, the wide gate, and they were saying, oh, where is the Holy One? Where is the counsel of God? Today, 2022, she don't even know what a woman is. And I'm going to tell you something, she's also a woman. It blows my mind. They don't care about anything but their agenda and the ones that they want to please. God is the furthest thing from their mind. And if we don't know that by now, we are in more trouble than we've ever thought possible. Listen to what it says. 20th verse. He said, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. People support these ungodly things in our country. Don't even know what they are, what they're doing, where they're going. And when you stand for God, when you stand for good, the word of truth that's never changed, a foundation, a sure foundation, something that'll last for eternity. They think you're evil, you're crazy, you're the nut job. But they can go and stand in a woman's swim team. A man can put on women's swimsuit, stand there and race in swim meets. And they think they're free, they're liberated. They're standing for something. We've lost our minds if we don't see that that's wrong. When do people take a stand anymore? You know what they should have done? Those ladies, those women at that swim meet, Mr. Thomas, I believe his name was, should have let him dress up, get in his women's swimsuit, get ready to take off. Hear that start, gunshot or whatever they do, pop, go. Everybody jumps in the pool. They all should have stood there like this and let him race himself in a woman's swimsuit and win first place. But no, they'll do it. And they'll do it.
they'll allow it. There comes a point in time where you stop allowing things. There's people, I have friends, I have family. They know where I stand. I love everybody, no matter how much I disagree with them. But I don't have to support your actions.